Well, hello, everybody. DP Gates here with PGI. I have a great interview today that I'm very excited about. It's a good friend of mine. I got Todd Bauerle here. How are you, Todd?
I'm doing awesome, man.
Awesome. Well, it's good to have you here. I've known Todd. We can get into how we've been connected for quite some time for a while. I've got to watch him grow up as a kid. We met each other in third grade. I was watching him before he even got into PGI, and now in PGI as one of our top consultants. It's been so interesting watching your growth process and the success you've created, not just in the business as a father, as a husband, and everything that you do. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But why don't you kind of start us off with where you were pre PGI and what that all looked like for you, and just tell us your story.
You know, DP, it's so cool how life unfolds because you have no idea. We have no idea what's in store for us. And where I came from, just incredibly average. I don't think there was anything remarkable or different about me or my conditions and circumstances. I mean, my parents struggled and divorced at an early age. I had many relationships that failed. I came from a background of trauma with my self-image, growing up in school. I mean, you saw where I came from. I didn't think very highly of myself, but at the same time, everyone remarked it, like the talent that I had. I was a good person, but I just didn't have any great results. I was fired multiple times from different positions, tried different things, but I had this gift for helping other people. The ironic thing is I couldn't help myself. I could help talk someone else through their challenges and problems, but I was left wondering, how come I'm so stuck? So, my wife and I worked in social work together. We worked with youth and families and helping families reunite and work through trauma. And in later years, I became a career coach, and I could help someone else get a really great job, $150,000 a year for someone else, but I was stuck earning $35,000 a year. I was much more overweight than I am now. I was unhealthy, anxiety, depression. My marriage was challenging, and I had 3 kids, and I was just looking at life and saying, how is it ever going to get better? How is it ever going to change? And I think those are the same struggles that most people are experiencing. I was the exact same as most people.
Interesting. It's interesting hearing all this because I've seen it. I got to watch so much of just your personal, like your growth story. And now because of how much you've grown, like the byproduct of that has been a great income. It's been a lot of really cool stuff, but it's been the impact and the value that you're bringing to the marketplace too. Like you're helping a lot of people now because you've done the work. Like if you don't know Todd, like Todd is not just a good friend of mine. He's one of my best clients too. Anytime we have a new program, Todd's in. Like it doesn't take much time for him. 9 out of 10 times, maybe 10 out of 10 times, he just wants more. Like he constantly wants to grow. He constantly wants to learn because he wants to be the person that's leading his clients. He wants to be at the top of his game. So he's always looking for the next level. And that's something I'm impressed with because that's something I'm always wanting to do. And that's what we've built, the culture we've built here in PGI is there's always better. There's always better. And the better we get, the more we can serve and help other people. So tell me a little bit about, once you got into PGI, because it's almost been 4 years. I remember the phone conversation.
Yeah.
I was in Toronto and we were talking and you were doing some coaching. You were nowhere near where you're at now, nowhere near.
No.
But you had a strong desire for doing something more and you wanted to add this to what you were doing and expand, in every area of your life. So fill me in now where you got started, what you've created in all areas of what you're doing.
Well, let me even preface that a little bit to saying like the catalyst of change. It came from a condition that my wife was diagnosed with. She was diagnosed with a brain tumor in 2015, 2 years maybe before we had that conversation. I don't know, something like that. I'd become a client of PGI, working through some programs with a consultant. I'd never heard of Bob Proctor, never heard of. I'm so happy and grateful now that, right? I was at this point in life that was a crisis because my wife was disabled. I have 3 kids and a mortgage, earning $35,000 a year. Something has to change. I didn't realize I was the thing that had to change. And so I took what I learned and I implemented, started my own career coaching business, almost tripled my income, but I had barely scratched the surface. And I was starting to see my power. In that conversation, I remember, you were in Toronto. I was at a baseball game with my kids. I was sitting on the picnic benches and we were talking about like what my dreams were. And like, now that I've seen this growth, what else is possible? And I'm like, well, I'd love to maybe be a PGI consultant or something like that. And I said, I let slip, it's been on my vision board for 2 years. I think your reaction was like, wait, it's been on your vision board for 2 years. Why don't you do this? It felt like I was holding on to the side of a river that was running really fast, and I was holding on for safety. And you asking that question, why don't you just do this and let go? It was like, why don't I just let go? This is what I want. I didn't ask how. I didn't ask how much. I didn't ask how it was all going to work out. I surrendered to that flow, and that flow has brought me everything that I want and everything that I need. So it was about, was it 2018 maybe? So a couple of years, 4 years ago. Wow. That's 4. You know what? It's 4 years ago this month.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember.
So since then, what's happened has been a process of growth. Like you said, I'm a good client. I try to ask for more. When someone asks me, or when someone tells me what I should be doing, I just say, go ahead and I'll just do it. I'll just do it. What's interesting is that the goals that I chose for myself knew better what I needed to become than I did. I had to surrender to my goals. I had to surrender to, qualifying for silver pin for Bob, not knowing what that would take, but knowing that there's something in me that says I can be one of the top consultants in the world. I can get to a point where I can have somewhat of a relationship with Bob. And the biggest goal that I had was looking at my family and saying, I want more for my kids. I want my kids to grow up knowing that they can be, do, or have whatever it is that they want. And so it wasn't about the pin. It wasn't about the clients. It wasn't about my trip to Disney World that I wanted to give the kids. It was about demonstrating for my children how to live their highest and best life. So it was surrendering to the goals, making a decision, saying, I'm going to do this goal, and allowing to see what's unfolded. And it's been an absolute joy. I mean, it's been hard. It's been challenging, but I'm the one that makes it hard and challenging when that happens. And I think you know that pretty darn well.
Sure. Well, let's go back to your kids, because you've got some great stories with them. And I love what you said, because I say that all the time. When parents ask us, like, how do you teach your kids this stuff? And there are things I teach them, but the first thing I always say is I lead by example. Like, I'm going after my dreams, and it's not like I'm kicking the kids to the curb. I'm all in with my 3 boys. I'm full time with them, but they see me every single day going for it. And you and I have had conversations just a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about what's the identity that we need to be, and what are my non-negotiables, and that's all we live by. And that's my life. That's your life. And you've created some great stuff, but you're leading by example. You and your wife lead by example with them too. You're not just all in as parents, you're all in living your dreams, and you're not neglecting your dreams, and you're showing them the way. So I love that about you, because it resonates with me too, because that's what I do. But tell us you have some cool stories of like how they manifest stuff, your kids, and even the meeting with Bob, which was really cool. Like, share that with everybody.
So I've got 3 kids, and they were really young when we started studying this, and we started having Bob playing in the background. The first paradigm shift seminar I attended as a client was like 2016. And I love that this is a paradigm shift highlights event, because those events were so important for my family, because we'd all sit around and we'd watch everything. So one of the biggest things was that first paradigm shift. We were watching as a family, and my 4-year-old was with me the whole time. And we had been listening to Thinking and Results, or different recordings of Bob saying, my head, my body, my hand, my results. And my 4-year-old would say that. And I sent you a recording of it, and you'd gotten that into Bob's hand. And Bob, in the middle of that seminar, was able to say, hey, there's something special about this seminar that Todd's watching. He's got Zach, who's 4 years old. Stand up, everybody, wave hi to Zach. And we're sitting here on the couch here in Utah going, oh my gosh, Zach, he's talking about you. And, Bob used that as a great teaching moment too, to say, Zach at 4 years old can get it faster than you can. And this started a string of all of my kids manifesting things. My oldest boy, Tavin, he wanted this $100 R2D2 toy that maybe I could have bought him, but at the same time, it wasn't Christmas, it wasn't birthday. But I asked him, I said, well, how bad do you really want it? I want it really bad. Said, well, here's what you need to do. You need to turn it into a goal. Write it on a goal card. Read it every day. And then when you have ideas, work for it. Now, he wrote comic books and he copied them. He spent $20 of his own money to copy comic books and didn't sell any. He tried to rake leaves around the house, or someone charged him or paid him $5 to rake his entire yard. And he's like, well, that took all day. And then I had to pay out my brothers, but he kept trying until he found, well, what if I charge like $3 a bag? He went out and boom, he had $55 earned in an afternoon. We looked on Amazon and then the toy was discounted, $40. So I told him, I said, can you go out and get the last $10, last $10, $15 right away? And I'll order it for you. That happened. But the biggest thing that I think my kids have manifested, my middle son, when I first became a consultant, 2018, I went to training and I came back and talked to all my kids about their goals. That's where the R2D2 toy came in. But my middle son, John, he says, I want to meet Bob. I want to be a consultant someday. And I get emotional because he nurtured that vision. I said, I have no idea how it's going to happen. I'm going to fly my kids to Toronto and they're going to be able to meet him. Well, in the last consultant training that was held live in February of 2020, it was the event that pushed me and my wife to say, let's take the kids to this week-long Disneyland. Why don't you drive out? On the last day of consultant training, you guys can come into the back and you'll see Bob from stage. And we ended up manifesting 30 minutes with Bob in the green room behind closed doors, giving my kids exactly what they wanted. I mean, they idolized him like a hero. And when I wonder, why did that happen then so fast for my kids' manifestation? It was the only time that was going to happen, was right then, because the world closed down after that. And I use these 3 examples with these 3 kids every day with them to say, hey, what is it that you want? What do you want to be? Do you want to go out and hit the ball? You manifested a meeting with Bob Proctor. You can hit the ball. My oldest son's working for a MacBook. You can get that MacBook. You can do these things. And I've asked my kids sometime in some of my content, what's the most important thing that you've learned about yourself? And when my 13-year-old says that everything I need is inside me now, then I know I'm doing my job right.
That's so good. You could go on and on talking about your kids as I could. It's incredible to have kids in this environment learning from us and they're watching us. Like I take my kids to go work out with me on Saturdays when I go to the gym. They see it's hard. Like daddy's doing hard stuff. And we talk about that in our house all the time. We say have words we don't say, can't but try, limiting words. You say can't means won't means push-ups. Like that's just how it works in our house. So there's certain things we're ingraining into their minds. And like I have a 5 and 7-year-old, but then I also have a 16-year-old. So I see it, because there's kind of a gap there. I see it in the 16-year-old because I've raised him. He's very confident, like in himself, not arrogant, but very confident in who he is. And the 2 little ones see that. And, it's a beautiful thing to see people raising their children this way, but leading by example. That's the most
You have to do it.
Yeah.
You have to do it. It's not just the intellectual idea. You have to put it into action. My kids are learning because I'm putting it into action and I'm helping them put it into action. A lot of people wonder, how do I teach this to kids? You don't. Bob's done a fantastic job of explaining the stick person and everything so that kids can understand it. But when you do it and they see you do it, they go, oh, I need to do it too. We just need to be doers of the work, not hearers only.
Yeah. Bob used to let his kids make their own decisions, and I'm sure that was hard for him at times, but they learn something from it, and they grow from that. And that's a good thing. So I have one more story I want you to tell, and then we'll get into some of the results you've created over the last 2 years. And I want to know too, more like, where do you see yourself going too? But I want you to tell the Porsche story from our elementary school when my dad picked you up from school. This is a great story because I think a lot of people growing up as kids can relate to this.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a revelation that happened, understanding why this story was so impactful over all the time of trying to achieve goals and saying, what are my limiting beliefs or what's holding me back? And one of the biggest limiting beliefs is in partaking of abundance, that we could experience what it is that we want with ease and with grace and with flow. Well, this story, so it's about 3rd grade. I think it was your first year at school, right? Is when we met. Your dad drove me home. I don't know how that worked out. But I got home and I loved the car. I loved the car that we drove home. And I tried to explain to my dad, it was this red car and it looked like this in the front and the back. And I don't know. I'll have to ask my friend what it was. And it was a Porsche. And I told my dad what it was. And he's like, there's no way we can ever own a Porsche. We can't have that kind of a car. And like, there was a part of my, so like third grade, what is that? Like 8 years old, 9 years old, something in me accepted this idea that I can't have what I want. That's not possible for me. That idea alone controlled the majority of my life up until I became a consultant and really started understanding this and tapping into my potential. And when I think about it, I go, wow, it wasn't even the Porsche or my own beliefs. I accepted someone else's idea that I couldn't do this. And I then walked through all of life wondering, how come some people can have this and I can't? Why can't I have this? And I mean, that's how paradigms are built. I built an elaborate framework of explaining to myself why I can't have that and why that's okay. And all that kind of rationalization just leaves you stuck because there's something in your spirit that knows you're lying to yourself, that knows that that's not true. And life has led me to realize that that's not a true belief.
That's so true. You know, what changed for you, and same thing that changed for me, is we immersed ourselves into an environment where, like Napoleon Hill talks about in Think and Grow Rich, he says, specialized knowledge, intelligently directed.
In the
that's what we have here, right? We have specialized knowledge. And you can get the specialized knowledge on YouTube, you can get it in other places, but you can't get it necessarily intelligently directed. And that's what I got from Bob, obviously, like in my late 20s, mentoring under him and spending so much time with him. And that's what you've gotten over the last 4 years here in PGI. It's completely changed everything for you. So tell us a little more of like the results real results like you've created over the last 4 years. And then in addition to that, what are some more of your goals that you're looking to achieve, and where do you see your business going?
Well, I think the best place to start is the story of manifesting the silver pin last year, which was really important to do in the last year of Bob's life as well. I accepted the idea. I looked at myself last year and I went, you know what? I know a lot of this stuff, but there are things that I'm not doing. I'm not writing my goal every day. I'm not reviewing my self-image every day. I'm not really doing the repetition I need to. I know this here, but I need to translate it to my embodiment. And in accepting that idea, I had other ideas that came. I mean, one of the best chapters of Think and Grow Rich is the chapter on auto-suggestion. Everyone wants to know how. How are you going to reach your goal? The how doesn't matter when you understand mindset, but everyone still asks that because they don't understand mindset. So as I'm auto-suggesting my goal, I start having these impressions. Maybe you should do this. Maybe you should start using TikTok for your business. I mean, it's this children's dancing app that's so silly, but I had this idea. I need to start making content. I just surrendered to it and allowed the flow to happen. I have gained 440 some thousand followers on TikTok, and almost all of my clients come from there. And our sales director, Doug, when he asked, well, what did you do? And I said, TikTok was the thing that worked for me. He's like, TikTok? This just goes to prove that you can do this business anywhere. See, the idea used me and I surrendered to it. And so I've been able to get that. And I set myself 9 months to earn my silver pin. It happened in 3 because I surrendered to the idea. So that's one real result. Income wise, I've earned more than my annual income. So I used to earn $35,000 a year. I've earned more than that in a week's time, but not only that, anytime you share this information with anybody else and they get better results, you grow yourself too. So those are some of my real results. Where do I see myself going? You know what? The sky is the limit. Actually, no, it's not true. Your paradigm is the limit. And what happens is every time you grow and you hit your head on that new paradigm and self-image, there's more growth. I don't think there's a limit to what I can achieve. I just have to sit down and design it. Yeah, I lived my whole life resigning to living a certain way, to resigning into victim. I'm ready just to design every aspect of my life. So I don't think there's a limit. There will be future pins. There will be bigger things happening. My kids are already saying they want to work for me. So this is going to turn into a legacy. I have no idea what that looks like. I have no idea how to get there, but I know it's going to happen. And I just can't wait to find out.
And a good tax write-off apparently too. So kids are good tax write-offs as employees.
That as well.
But we're not here to give tax advice. So, okay, cool. So Tell if there's somebody watching. Well, I'll tell you this real quick. I was texting Arash last night and I said, we were talking about our 5-day event. And I said, the stuff we give away for free is better than almost anybody's stuff that actually costs money out in those. Like we have the best material in the marketplace, hands down. I know I'm biased, but challenge me on that. You will lose. Like we have the best stuff, and people are getting so much value and knowledge. And then after these events, like obviously getting coached and getting that specialized direction is where you create the results and really manifesting what you want. But what would you tell somebody who, let's say they want to be a coach, maybe they are a coach and they want to add this on to make it go faster, or they're not a coach yet, but they want to be a coach. What advice would you give somebody who's watching this right now that's maybe thinking about doing it?
First off, this information, how Bob has studied it and organized it, and how PGI continues to carry on his knowledge. This idea, when Bob says this is the most important idea he's ever had, the simplicity of this changes everything for anyone, anywhere. So the first thing I would say is, no matter what level you're at, I don't care if you're already earning $1 million or if you're earning 35,000 like me. This information can change you to get you to the next level, whatever that is. So just know that wherever you come from doesn't matter. You're going to go further with it. That's the first thing. Number two, you have to surrender the voice inside that says that you can't. I grew up with that voice. The voice inside that says you are not good enough. That's not you. That's not you. That's the paradigm. This was one of the last conversations I had with Bob, where he was asking the same question. You are more than that. You are a greater being than that. You are a much greater being. You have to surrender the doubts. If you must doubt something, doubt your doubts. Surrender the paradigm. Let go. Step into your greatness and power and just ask the question, like, what if? What if I can create a quantum leap in the next 6 months of this year? That it looks totally different than anything I've ever experienced or everything I've ever dreamed of. What would that look like? Play the what if game. What if this changes everything for you? What if it changes your family legacy? What if it allows you to touch the lives of other people? Just what if all this stuff is true? You just got to surrender to that idea and make the decision. The committed decision, it's a different kind of energy. We make decisions all the time, but we don't make committed decisions. I love it when Bob says there is a place. I mean, my first goal in doing this was to earn 6 figures, spend long summers on the beach in Michigan. Since 2017, I spend every summer at a family cottage up there. I'm on my way right now, essentially, at the end of this week, driving up there. I'm going to spend 8 weeks up there with my family. I have to try really hard to not earn 6 figures. That's my default. There is a place. Whatever goal you set, if you do the work, just follow the instruction PGI and Bob gives you. If you do the work, you're going to go there. So make sure you're pretty clear about what that is. And what Bob says is true. And I regret that it's true, because he says, you'll find out there's no difference between here or there or there or up here. You can get there. The process is the same. And this little guy is the key.
That's so good. I think that's a good point to make, Todd. And this is a great place to stop and say thank you so much for taking the time with us today. And I'm excited to see where the next 4 years go. We always joke behind the scenes here and we say, let's see how far we can take it. There's no finish line. You get there and it gets moved, in this type of environment. So I thank you, and I appreciate you, your wife, your kids, and let's see how far we can take it.
Yeah, I'm so grateful. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you pushing me when I need to be pushed and guiding when I need to be guided. And just thank you for that.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks to you, Todd, and thanks to you, everybody. And we'll see you at the next one.